So to answer your question, what I want people to say about me don't even matter.
We're here with Jay Langston from The Worshipper in You. Jay, I just wanted to ask you a few questions. First of all, where are you from, and can you tell us a little bit about your background?
Well, first thing is I am originally from Trenton, New Jersey, born and raised. You know, what most people will say, just, I guess I would say from the hood. Yeah, that's where I'm from. I'm from Trenton, New Jersey. I love the people from out there. It's been, I learned a lot growing up in that area because I grew up without having much. And when you don't have much, you appreciate everything. And I think that for me, that has created a heart for me to really love others unconditionally. Because you never know where a person's coming from. You never know their situation. You never know what's happening in their lives to cause them to act a certain way or be a certain way or say something a certain way. And so I have a lot of empathy to people who go through things. So for me, I went through a lot. And so, yeah, I just went through a lot. So that's where I come from. I come from a place of, in a sense of brokenness. I come from a place of happiness. I come from a lot of different places in one area.
And what was it that drew you to music?
You know what? I can't really answer that question in a very honest way because I really don't know what drew me to music. When God gives you a gift, when He gives you something, you just naturally do it, right? When you have legs and you have the ability to walk, you naturally just want to walk. So I think God just placed this amazing gift of music and multimedia inside of me, and I just want to do it. Nobody had to egg me on or encourage me to do it. It was just something that I knew I wanted to do it. I've been doing music I started when I learned that I can do the gift of music. I want to say around the age of like 8 or 9. That's when I really knew that I had the ability to play an instrument. Before I used to just like dance all around, and my mom would be playing all the old school music, So that's pretty much where it kind of like birthed from since I was a little kid, since about 7 or 8 years old.
So that brings us to today with The Worshipper in You. Tell us a bit about how it all got started.
With The Worshipper in You, before even Worshipper in You started as a entity in a sense, I was always a worshiper. My grandmother, God bless her soul, she was an evangelist back home in Trenton, New Jersey, and I was always like in the things of ministry. I was always, every time she went to church, I went to church. Like I never not wanted to go to church. I always wanted to go to church with her. But I was always in the choir, and I loved to sing, and they would always give me like lead songs to sing because I was the only guy, and I was always willing to sing. But by the time I got to high school, that's when everything changed. I was around people like Mr. Bagley, Raymond Bagley, who was the music teacher at the time, the choir director. And I was just fascinated of the gospel choir. I was just fascinated. And again, I was in church, I was playing drums and all that good stuff, but I was just fascinated when it came to the gospel choir. And so I started off singing in the gospel choir, but then I wind up ending up within the next year or two, I wound up playing and learning. I taught myself how to read music. During that time, God was really working on me. I wound up becoming homeless at the age of 16, which was really interesting because, I did have my mom and everything was there, but, some things happened that I just, I was alone in a sense. My mom's still alive, great woman, good woman, but, things happen between family. And so, but God allowed me to go through that to find my way through Him. And during the age of 16, 17, I was really sleeping in the park in my car. And I was always, begging and asking God, why is this happening? Why is this going on? And then other things happened and other things kind of trampled and I felt lost. I was broken. I was lost. And it hasn't, fast forwarding to now, God started bringing some things together in me to say, hey, we need to start bringing worshipers together. And God was showing me that we need to bring the believers back together. And one thing I've always learned and knew about music can bring people together like no other. I mean, if you look in history, you can see it. You can see how music brought people together, whether it was for the good or the bad. I mean, we can talk about Woodstock and see how when they playing music, how it brought all those people together. We can talk about a lot of things. So, but how much more when you actually pursuing the things of God and you're singing the things of God and you're declaring the things of God and worship and music and bringing people together. That alone right there is a powerful thing that you can do. And so, you know, the worshiper in you was already birthed at a younger age. However, I didn't realize what it meant until recently. So just recently, starting earlier this year, that's when we made it an entity in a sense to say, okay, this is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to start doing.
So you've got some events coming up, your album release and a concert. What can people expect when someone comes to a Worshiper in You event? What makes y'all stand out?
You know what? I don't think it's nothing for us to stand out. You know, we can do all types of things and razzle and dazzle things with, in front of people and try to stand out. That's easy to do. What's not easy to do is to bring people together to worship together under the audience of one, to show people that, hey, God is greater than all things. And that's the whole purpose of this. It's not even a concert, it's a worship night. Our goal here with the Worshiper in You is to bring people together closer to God, a walk with God, not only in the abilities of music, but in every other gift and talent that God has given you. I tell my team all the time, it's more than music. Worship is way more than music. So to answer that question, I want people to just come and really understand and have a great time in the things of God. So come with expectancy. That's mainly my thing. My thing is people come with expectancy that God will move like no other.
What would you like to tell us about the album? What is its significance to you?
Man, everybody want to ask hard questions. That's a you know what? That is an amazing question, actually. You know, I've written songs for other people. I've produced for other people, played on other people's stuff and concerts and all that good stuff. And God really was getting on me about not exercising the gift for Him that I'm exercising for everyone else. And so what's very significant about this album, because the title of the album is called Great Is He. I mean, you can say a lot more things, but to know that God is great, He is. He really is. This album is much more to me than just songs and lyrics. I was at a broken stage in my life when these songs came apart. When these songs came to me, when God was downloading these songs on me, I was in a broken place. I was in a broken place when I couldn't see my kids from my first marriage, when things were going crazy in that instance. I was broken. I was hurt. It was just so many different things and different dynamics that were happening that I couldn't bear it. And I felt like I couldn't bear it. But one thing I knew for a fact, that when I would play the piano and I would sing, I always felt that there was a release happening. And you know how some people just have their stress release mechanisms? That one is mine. That's my stress reliever. When I turn on the keyboard and I play, and I can literally play for hours and not even realize I've been playing that long. And so when God gave me these songs for Great Is He album, it was a release for me. And I don't know where this album is going. It can go everywhere and it can go nowhere. It doesn't, at this point, it really don't matter. I know that for me, I had to get out what God wanted me to release. And so with Great Is He, between Great Is He and He's There, these are titles of the album or titles of the song. being an overcomer. It's extraordinary to see how God was working. And even when I was writing the music and I was telling my wife, like, we're going to do this song, I'm going to get such and such a sing on this, or I'm going to do this and do that. And she was like, well, how are you going to do all this? And how are you going to do this? And how are you going to do that? I just had great faith. I had great faith. So this album means a lot to me because I believe that it's going to touch a lot of people's hearts. And I really believe that this album is going to reach those who are lost, those who are thinking about committing suicide, those who are thinking about leaving the faith, those who are thinking about, just giving up altogether. I believe that there's going to be a song on this album, a line, a phrase that is going to cause somebody in their spirit to wake up. So that's why it's so important to me with this song, this album.
When it's all said and done, let's fast forward 20, maybe 40 years from now. How would you like people to remember Jay Langston?
You know what, to be honest with you, we fast forward and, people say, oh man, I remember Jay, he was a nice guy, he was a great guy, good heart. That's all well and good. That's cool. The reality is I want God to say, well done, my good and faithful servant. We go through so much in life that we try to not only imitate others, but we try to impress others because others had let us down. We try to prove a point to others because what people said against us or about us. And I got to a point in my life, it doesn't matter what anybody say about me. It doesn't matter what anybody thinks. What does matter is what God said about me. What does matter is that what God wants me to do. Do I make mistakes? Certainly I do. Have I said some wrong things at times? Certainly I have. Am I perfect? I will never be. But the reality is that I'm striving to be more like Christ. I am pushing to emulate who God is through my actions, through what I say, through the words. And I think that's more important. So to answer your question, what do I want people to say about me? Don't even matter. They can say Jay's a nice guy. Jay was this, Jay was that. Jay can do this. They can say all that stuff. But if I didn't do what God has called me to do, and I didn't answer to what God has asked me to answer to, it doesn't even, none of that stuff matters. I just want God to say, well done, my good and faithful servant. Good?
Very good. No more questions.
Cool. That's a break.